to bring greetings to the graduates and deliver the commencement address, I am pleased to introduce Michael Napolitano. You may not immediately recognize his name, but you certainly know of him. Michael was born in Massachusetts and moved to Florida at age 11. He graduated from Oviedo High School. He earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in anthropology from the University of Central Florida. He was named the Lawrence J. Chastain Global Fellow and was recognized for excellence in the showcase of undergraduate research there. In 2012, he entered the Orlando Police Academy. He has served as an Orlando Police Department officer since 2012 and has been a SWAT team member since 2015. He is active in community outreach efforts on behalf of OPD and assists with new officer training and orientation. You may know of him because of the tragic events at the Pulse nightclub last year. Michael was one of the first SWAT team members who responded to those events. He is also the brave soul whose life was saved by his Kevlar helmet. He is truly a hero and one of our own, a living reminder of the sacrifices so many bear in service to the protection of others. Please join me in warmly welcoming Mr. Napolitano.
Thank you. Good morning, class of 2017. Thank you, Dean Richard, President Cornwell, trustees, distinguished faculty, staff, parents, family, and friends, and of course, thank you, graduates. And since it's Mother's Day weekend, I just want to take a moment to recognize all the mothers out there and thank them as well. When Dean Richard asked me to give a commencement speech for the Hamilton Holt School, my initial reaction was, well, that's awesome. So I said yes, of course. Shortly after that, I realized I had no idea how to give a commencement speech. I thought back to when I graduated, and I tried to remember the speaker from that day, and I can honestly tell you I don't remember a single word. So with that in mind, I realized I should be as brief as possible and try my best to leave you with something you can take with you today, other than your degree, which of course is the reason why you're all here. All you have to do is make it through this speech and hope that if you do nod off, the person next to you will be nice enough to wake you up before it's your turn to walk. But please rest assured, I watched a handful of commencement speeches on YouTube to prepare for this, and I almost made it all the way through one of them. In all seriousness, it is a great honor and privilege to be able to address all of you on what is beyond a doubt one of the most important days of your lives. Today, and what is probably the most expensive piece of paper you will ever receive, represents something very important. It's the completion of a goal. For some of you, this goal may have been set a few years ago, others maybe closer to a decade, and some of you perhaps have been striving towards this your entire life. And there are probably many of you like me whose parents had this goal in mind for you before you were even born, which makes this an achievement literally a lifetime in the making. So now you're all about to take the first step towards your next goal, whatever that may be. You've proven yourselves in the academic world, and now you're ready to prove yourselves to the real world. As I'm sure most of you already know, the world can be a rough place. And sometimes it seems like it does its best to stop you from achieving your goals. But soon you're going to have physical proof that you can tough it out. You can work and go to school. You can cram for a test the night before and still pass. You can ace the midterm paper. And you might even have done all this while raising a family. You've got what it takes. Sometimes the world tries to make you forget that, but don't let it, because you know better. When I thought about what I might say to you today to help prepare you for that next step, 3 stories from my life and the lessons I learned from each came to mind. And I hope you'll find some value in them as I have. When I was in my early 20s, I started to get into boxing. It started out in a friend's garage hitting mitts. Neither of us really had any experience. We just learned what we could from books and television. And then we started sparring until finally I thought we actually started to get pretty decent. So I decided I wanted to join a boxing gym to take my training to the next level. And then with proper teaching, lots of sparring, and a lot of headaches, I did get better. And that led to the next logical step, which was to compete in an amateur boxing match. I figured, why not? I've been training. I might as well put all that towards something. So I prepared myself for a few months, and I thought I was ready. But when that day finally came, I felt like I wasn't ready at all, and I absolutely didn't want to go through with it. But I showed up anyway, started warming up, and tried to convince myself to go through with it, even though I really didn't want to do it anymore. At this point, boxing seemed like the stupidest idea I'd ever had. Now, on the outside, I was playing it cool, I was calm, stone cold, but in my head, I was cursing myself out. It's like, why? Why would you want to do this? Why did you think this was a good idea? You're such an idiot. That self-beratement went on until it was time for me to get in the ring, and even though I absolutely did not want to go through with it, I still got in the ring when they called my name. Once that bell rang, all that fear and doubt was gone, and I fought my heart out for 6 minutes. It's 3 2-minute rounds. I lost that fight. It was a close match, but the other guy edged me out. I knew I had to fight again. I couldn't go out like that, so I signed up for another one. I hated myself just as much on the second fight as I did for the first one. The fear and self-beratement all the same, but I forced myself into the ring again, and again with the sound of the bell, I let it all go. I lost that fight too. Worse than the first one, it wasn't even close, completely one-sided. Yeah, I still don't know how I was able to get that exhausted in just 6 minutes. But I knew I had to do it again. I had to get just at least one win. I knew I had to do it. And then I realized that my goal had evolved. It started with just learning to box, and then became getting better at it, and then evolved to wanting to take a fight, and then that all led to the goal of me wanting to win. That was my ultimate goal for boxing, just winning one fight. I knew I didn't have a career in it, but I also knew I had to do that. Maybe that goal had really been there all along, but now that I consciously realized it, I couldn't ignore it. I thought to myself, if only I had won that first match, I wouldn't have to keep doing this to myself. So I did a lot more sparring and got a lot more headaches and forced myself into the ring one more time. And this time I won, and it wasn't close. I was in control of the fight the whole time, and I knew I was winning. And after that fight, I felt like a champ, even though it was only an amateur fight. So I retired from boxing with a solid 1-2 record, but I never forgot what I learned about myself in the ring. And I realized the importance of finding something you're afraid to do and then doing it. The next 2 stories are shorter, don't worry. A few years ago, I took a trip up to New York City to visit a friend of mine. I was there for 4 days, and on the last day, I found myself having a very difficult time saying goodbye to a girl I had only just met. She was incredible. She was beautiful, funny, smart. She's an architect. We had instant chemistry, and I couldn't believe how much I liked her after knowing her for only a few short days. And the thing was, she really liked me too. So after a long and impossibly hopeless hug goodbye at the train station, I knew I had to figure out when I could see her again. And I knew it seemed crazy. 1, I barely knew her, and 2, I was talking about a long-distance relationship. Those never work. I was dumb to even consider it. How could I build a relationship with someone who was so far away, so out of reach? But I couldn't help myself, and within a month, I was back up there to visit her. And it was amazing. Before I knew it, I was in a very serious long-distance relationship. We were texting constantly, Skyping, flying back and forth, just about every month. And a quick side note, on our first Skype date, I had a bottle of wine delivered to her apartment. In case any of you guys ever in that situation, it worked out really well. So anyway, the long-distance relationship only lasted about a year. That's because she moved down to Orlando, Florida from Manhattan, New York, just to be with me. Still not sure how I pulled that off. But if you fast forward through a few years of me dragging my feet, now we're married. I never would have thought, thank you. I never would have thought a long-distance relationship could have worked out so well. And I learned that nothing is out of reach as long as you reach for it. This last one is the shortest, but also the most important. I've been fortunate enough to be a member of the SWAT team for 2 out of my 5 years with the Orlando Police Department. My time with the team has been, without a doubt, the most fulfilling part of my career. Learning and truly understanding what it is to be part of a team is invaluable. No task, no obstacle, no goal is impossible when you are a part of a good team. And when you put your teammates before yourself and always trust each other, you become part of an unstoppable force. Now, that's not easy to do. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of time training together, but what you will gain is exponentially greater than the individual effort you have to put in. That's how we made it through the longest night of our lives. It was at the Pulse nightclub tragedy that teamwork proved to be a truly magnificent force. Everybody played an important role. We all trusted and relied on each other. We drew strength and courage from one another. We all put the team and the mission before ourselves, even though we all knew the great danger we were in. And teamwork is undoubtedly what got us through that night. If you can find a place for teamwork in your professional and personal lives, you will definitely be better off for it. So if I can just leave you with 3 pieces of advice today, they are: 1, find something you're afraid to do and then do it. 2, remember nothing is out of reach as long as you reach for it. And 3, with teamwork, you can overcome any obstacle. Now is the last obstacle between you and your degree. I'm going to get out of your way. Thank you and congratulations.